Hey there, it's Stephanie. Welcome back to my channel. We're kind of on the move today because we have family coming to town and they are going to be staying with us for a little over a week. Now, you know me. You know that cooking is not my favorite thing to do, especially when we have people visiting who live far away and I want to spend as much time with them as possible. So that's what I'm doing this week. I'm going to show you how I cook for company as a busy mom who really doesn't like to spend a lot of time in the kitchen. So what that means for us is I will be using a lot of crock pot meals where I can throw them in the crock pot whenever. So maybe when it's a little bit quiet in the house, I can just slip into the kitchen and get some stuff added to the crock pot. The other thing that I do when I have company is I just turn to my old faithful recipes. You know, the ones that you can basically cook with your eyes closed. You know exactly what you need, you know all of the quantities, and you can just work up those recipes while you're chatting with your family in the next room. The challenge we're having right now is, I'm working on getting our laundry folded and put away, and my to-do list is still just really long to be ready for family. So my husband has offered to take the kids and go get the groceries. We still have a lot of stuff on hand from our trip to Costco, but there are just, some staples, some fresh items and things that I'm going to need for these recipes. So I put everything into Plan to Eat. I narrowed down the list to only what we need, and I gave that to my husband and said, thank you, have fun. And so I'm just waiting for them to get back. Once they get here, I will show you what they picked up. I have a feeling there will be some extras in there. And so you and I can go through this grocery haul together, and it will be a surprise to both of us. I'll go ahead and show you the grocery haul now, and then I will show you what I make for our family who is visiting this week. All right, we're starting off strong with some beverages that were not on the list, but that's all right because they remembered my favorite cherry pomegranate drink mix, which was on the list. But then moving on, we have 2 boxes of chicken taquitos. We have the hash browns, peas, and mixed vegetables that I need for this week. We got our lunch crackers and granola bars, but then we have these odd flavors of Pringles that I've never seen before. We got a box of wheat thins, some corn checks. They opted for the huge thing of goldfish and also some chips to go with that. Oh, and pork rinds. All right, so now we have 2 loaves of white bread, which we need with extra people in the house. These individual nacho cheese cups, not sure about that, but we did get our canned soups and spaghetti sauce for dinners. Things are looking up now. We've got our noodles that I need, the red beans that I'm going to need for the week. They also picked up some turkey and smoked sausage. We needed a few more eggs, and we were running low on milk. Going into the dairy section, they got some string cheese, some yogurts. These are the yogurts that my parents who are visiting, they like these particular types of yogurt, so we picked up some of those for them. And then into the produce, we got some cucumbers, some asparagus, Roma tomatoes, green onion, 2 crowns of broccoli, a green bell pepper, and then my usual salad makings, iceberg lettuce, baby spinach, and a bag of Caesar salad mix. 2 bags of grapes, not quite sure about that. And we got a bunch of bananas. So overall, they actually stuck to the list pretty well. There are a few surprises, but I think they did a great job. First up is one of those recipes that I can just cook on autopilot. It's a Copycat chicken Rice-a-Roni, and I love it because I can just use some of my cooked and shredded chicken out of the freezer, so that cuts down on a lot of the prep time as well. But basically, I just start by chopping up 1 onion. If you have garlic, this is a good time to prep that as well, but as you know, we don't use garlic very much at our house. And then I just break up some spaghetti noodles into pieces. Yes, you can buy them already broken, but I prefer to still have those spaghetti noodles to use for other things. And then I also just get my rice prepped for, getting that washed and ready to go. Once I have everything prepped, I head over to the stove. I saute the onion first, and then I add the rice and the noodles, and I just kind of saute those for a minute or so. And then this is when you would also add the garlic if you use garlic, and you'd get that, you know, kind of fragrant and cooked a little bit. So once that's had time to just kind of saute in the pan, I add chicken broth. Don't panic when you see all of the bouillon at the bottom of the container. I do have to add more water. And then in addition to the chicken broth, I also add some soy sauce to this as well. And then because there's already salt from the broth and the soy sauce, the only main seasonings that I put in there are Italian seasoning and a little bit of black pepper. And once I have the lid on that so that it can simmer, I turn my attention to the asparagus, which I just get those prepped. I brush them with a little bit of olive oil, season with salt and pepper, and then put them in the oven. To keep the chicken from getting overcooked, I just kind of add it towards the end of the cooking time for the rice. I just kind of layer it on top, put the lid on, and then it just kind of warms up with the rice. And this is dinner. We have grapes, asparagus, and the chicken and rice. Okay, this is what has been dubbed the shortcut vegetable soup at our house, and what I say is not going to match up to the video, but basically everything goes in a pot and it simmers for as long as I can let it. And so that's why sometimes I will saute the vegetables beforehand, like before putting it in the pot, because I know it's not going to have very much time to simmer. And I'd use spaghetti sauce as kind of the base of the soup because I feel like it prevents that canned tomato taste. And so I like to use some kidney beans in there as well for some protein. And then I just kind of experiment with just the ratio of spaghetti sauce to broth. I do water with better than bouillon, and I just make it until it's the quantity I need. And I make sure that I have enough liquid because at the very end of the cook time, I add some egg noodles. And so then after simmering this in the crock pot for a few hours, we were able to just, as people came and went that day, we were able to have some soup for dinner. Day 3 is my go-to easy recipe for a really busy night, and that is chicken salad sandwiches. And so for this one, I've shown it before, but basically I just use green onion, celery, and grapes, and I mix it until I feel like it's a good amount of extras for the amount of chicken that I'm using. And then I just add 1 heaping tablespoon for every can of chicken that I used. So on this night, I used 3 cans of chicken, and so you'll see 3 globs of mayonnaise, and that's actually not enough mayonnaise. The chicken is still dry. So then what I do is I add ranch dressing to bring it to the consistency that we like. And then I made this early in the day and then just set it in the fridge for when we were ready to eat it later. And I didn't even get a picture of our finished meal. Our 4th dinner is one of our crock pot favorites. So this is red beans and rice. So basically I just chop up a bunch of green pepper, celery, and onion. And sometimes I will saute it beforehand, but I didn't do that today. Totally fine. It still tastes great. Add it to the crock pot with about 7 cups of water and a bag of small red beans. And then I do add, this is vegetable bouillon because I was out of chicken, but I add that to the crock pot just for some additional flavor. And then I also do 1 tablespoon of the Creole seasoning. And you'll probably notice that I did not add any sausage to the crock pot, and that's because I just don't like the way it cooks down. And so I just chop it and saute it and add it to the beans just a little bit before we serve it. And we serve it with rice and green salad. We have already arrived at the 5th and final dinner before my parents go back home. We only did 5 dinners because between leftovers and then, going out to eat to try out some of the local restaurants, and then we had a very busy night where we grabbed pizza and brought it home. And so between those 3 things, we needed 5 meals. And so we're feeling a little bit nostalgic tonight, and we're making tater tot casserole. And everybody has their own take on tater tot casserole, so I'll show you what we do. And so I cook the ground beef. I put some of the dried minced onion in here as well as some salt and pepper, and I get that cooked and drained and then add it to a casserole dish. And then because I'm using about 1.5 pounds to 2 pounds of ground beef for this, I go ahead and add 2 cans of cream of mushroom soup, and then I add enough milk to just kind of make it that gravy consistency, and I just mix it right there in the casserole dish. I think it was about 1/2 can to 3/4 of a can of milk. And then it's time to get the tater tots lined up on the pan. I'm going to time lapse this because it's always so satisfying to watch the tater tots get lined up. It had been a really long time since I've made tater tot casserole, and you know, it just kind of hit the spot, and it was perfect for this last meal before my parents take off and head back home. Overall, I would say it was a successful week. We were able to have home-cooked meals without feeling like we were stuck in the kitchen the whole time, and so I would call that a win. If you'd like to continue to follow along with my meal planning shenanigans, go ahead and hit subscribe, and I will see you next time.